Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video is going to be the who should you summon for the upcoming patch and the current patch as well. So the upcoming patch there we have no new Esper for us to Wishstone because the two new Esper is Meta Chuan and also Wenlock, which is one is from the anomaly content and the other one is from championship. So technically you can this is a patch for you to actually save your Wishstone, because the upcoming one, which I assume the Panther guy, the one I posted previously, should be the Red Up Esper. Okay, I think he will be the Red Up Esper, so I don't so he will be using by Wishstone. So if you really want him, you can start saving a Wishstone now. You have one patch long for you to actually save a Wishstone if there's the upcoming Red Up that isn't any Esper that really interested in you, because there's no new Red Up Esper, they only have the rerun of the Esper. So this video is pretty fast. So using here, should you actually get her, I would say overall she's worth the Wishstone, but you must have Lu Shang first, because everything of her kit exiles with Lu Shang. So if you don't have Lu Shang, then you don't get her first. You can get Lu Shang first, but to be honest, I would say one copy is all you need for Yijing, so you don't really have to rush for her getting her copy, because your first copy is 100 Wishstone. You can always wait for her to go back into the wish selection pool, then you only pick for her, unless you are actually trying to compete in the anomaly content. So let's say the miracle trial here, if you really left a few petals and then you want to get her just because you want to get the petals here, then you have to do the calculation, like if she's worth for your keepsake petal or not. Like take a look at your guarantee, like how many left, how many keepsake left, do the calculation, like if getting Yijing is worth the value for it. But I would say that spending Wishstone on Yijing is worth it if you have Lu Shang. She does pretty well in Versatile Fantasy for sure, Shadow Glow, and then PvP is not bad, but not in all comp. I would say she's a not bad Esper. It's pretty strong. I do use her in certain combination, especially when I'm using Meta Liling as well. Then for maybes here, one copy is all you need, so you can definitely skip her or you get her from the wish selection pool. And then Archibald you can also skip as well. I don't think Archibald usage is that high anymore, even in PvP content. He can just be for the maybes damage sponge, but basically that's it. It's not really that important to go for. Okay, then the upcoming patch one, we're gonna have Chuan and Brewster as the first week Esper. So for Chuan here is actually a pretty good case here for you to get his reso. Like let's say your Chuan is still not R2, you are still like a newbie to beginner player. You have one copy Chuan for free from the lock-in reward, right? Then if you have the Wishstone and you really like Chuan, you getting his R2 is pretty worth it, because you really need his R2 to exile, and then he still do a very strong performance in PvE content as well. Even though he slightly fell off compared to the end game top tier PvE for Versatile Fantasy, but if you don't compare about those top tier player there, his usage is still pretty high, like in Fafnir and Versatile Fantasy as well. So his R2 value is actually still there. I would still recommend getting his reso. Why? Because the meta version of him is not for PvE content. He is mainly built for PvE content, and the meta version of Chuan is purely for PvP. So that both of them don't have an overlapping situation. So you can feel free to go for Chuan's reso as well. Not to mention, if you are going to get Meta Chuan's pass, and then because you buy the pass, you're gonna get guarantee at least R1, right? And R1 will get benefit by Chuan's reso amount as well. Every single reso will boost by 5%. So I would say the Wishstone spend on Chuan is pretty good, at least until R2. Or you are a player that is going to get Meta Chuan and you want to get as many stats boosts as possible, then you can get the rest of the reso. Or else I would say the rest of the reso here, not really that urgent. I would recommend you to save the Wishstone and then you can just go for R2. Then for the next one is Brewster. Brewster here is pretty good overall, but my recommendation is also just go until R2. It's pretty good already, gaining the 3 reload stacker, and not to mention the loyalty box. Brewster reso is pretty often in the royalty box as well, so you can always don't have to spend your Wishstone for Brewster Rezo, just keep the Wishstone for the newer Esper, while the Brewster Rezo you can wait for loyalty box, slowly collect the Brewster Rezo and use it on Brewster, because the loyalty box, one of the best choice to gain. Brewster is always one of the main choice, like R2, R4, R6 is both the value. So I would say use the loyalty box on Brewster, but save your Wishstone. Save your Wishstone for other newer Esper. Then the other week will be Jinchu, and I would highly recommend you guys to get Jinchu's Rezo. If you are a furry player or you really like Jinchu's design, Jinchu is still one of the top tier meta. Not until meta, but still one of the top tier PvP Esper, and also PvE for Andras as well. It's still one of the best. If you look at the PvP leaderboard, I'm pretty sure you will still see some team that is using R6 Jinchu. It's a still very strong Esper, especially you pair him with Chuan Spirit Aegis, and he's a true damage Esper, and true damage is a very unique attack, and his value is always be there, because true damage cannot get affected by damage taken increase or damage reduction as well. So it's very strong, and Jinchu is still one of the best true damage Esper as well. Then the other one is Nora. So Nora here, personally I would say is a skip. If you really like Nora, definitely the Rezo helps her, right? But I don't really think you need the Rezo on Nora, just because like Nora R2 here is pretty good, the AP push. Then this one is very important for Nora R4 effect. Then R6 here will increase your chance to 100%, so you don't have to go through the RNG layer. But if in terms of PvE content, Nora usage is like Andras, some falsetto fantasy alternative performance. If you don't have a better Esper, Nora is a pretty good replacement. Doing pretty well in the shadow bosses for the win one. And then PvP is doing, she used to be very good in PvP after her changes, but because of Zihe will absorb all the counter attack, right? So she kind of fell off in PvP, like in Point War and Beat Bout, but I still use her a lot in triple threats. But with that said, even though she can exile in a lot of content, I would say if you really want to push for Nora, I would recommend you to go until R6. I'll recommend you to go for the steps. So let's say something like R3, something like R4. R5 is pretty good as well, but R2 doesn't really matter too much. So if you are rushing for R2 Nora, I will say skip. If you want to boost your Nora and you use Nora a lot, I will say R4 here is a pretty good way, pretty good spot to stop. But overall, I would say the Wishstone, if I have to really invest, I would invest on Jinchu instead of Nora for the Wishstone value wise. Then the last week one will be Gaius. Then Gaius here, definitely a skip, even though he's a very cool Esper, I know. But if there's no other Esper balance changes to buff him, I would say definitely skip him, because he's no longer as strong as as strong as he used to be at the past. Even though he is the only Esper here have a double kit here, but because he takes a lot of turn, and then he takes a lot of time to keep transforming the form, so he definitely needs some balance changes in the future. But who knows when is the balance changes going to be. So for now, I would say skip Gaius. Then the next one is Clara. So Clara here, I would say is pretty good, but I would only suggest you to Wishstone on Clara if you are one of the players that have a lot of Wishstone. You don't really have unowned Esper already, and then you're starting to min-maxing the value of PvE, the Miracle Challenge leaderboard. Then Clara Rezo is actually pretty good, especially if you want to push the shadow bosses, the fire one, the inferno one, and Clara's Rezo is pretty strong. So this immunity here is decent, this shield here is decent, but the R6 here, the healing time changed to 3, which means extra dispel proc as well. So this here is some min-maxing changes for the shadow bosses, but overall it's not a massive change. But if you are a player who is already like R6 a lot of Esper, and if you are considering if you want to get Clara R6, I would say it's pretty good if you are trying to push for the shadow bosses score, but or else you should actually skip her. Yeah, so basically that's all for this video here about who to summon. This my recommendation as well. Then if you're thinking like if you should get meta Liling or you should get meta Chuan, I'll also cover this part. Okay, so should you get meta Chuan or meta Liling? Chuan one is not in here yet, right? So I'll cover meta Liling first. So meta Liling, For majority of you, if you are for majority of the free-to-play player out there, to be honest, you are actually able to get one copy. I already did the calculation. You are able to get one copy, but I believe some of you actually miss out the Plaza limited here, right? There's actually the Nexus Crystal one here, which refresh every week. If you miss out that part, you actually miss out a lot of summon. And I saw some comments, some of them actually didn't know that this anomaly, when you finish the hacks, this part here, this battle is not pay to win. You are actually able to use Nexus Crystal to purchase them. 500 gem to purchase all these rewards here, including the divinities, including the battle. I do saw some comments they actually missed it from the phase 1, or some player they just came back into the game at phase 2, so they actually missed phase 1, so they actually missed a lot of reward as well. That's one of the reasons why you didn't get at least one copy of Meta Liling. Okay, so it's actually based on my calculation, you are actually able to get R0 Meta Liling, but I included the calculation with the limited time weekly reset of the Lotus Petal in the Plaza shop. So maybe you already missed out that's the reason why you didn't get Meta Liling R0. Okay, then come back to the main point. So if you have to compare Meta Liling and Meta Chuan, who should you actually get? So if you are a player who actually want to enjoy PvE and also PvP, both situation, I would recommend Meta Nerta more than Meta Liling. A few conditions here. A few reasons why. First thing, I think Meta Liling's model is a lot more cooler than Meta Chuan based on my own taste. I think that Meta Nerta's model is cooler than Meta Chuan. I like Meta Nerta's model more than Meta Chuan. This is based on personal taste, okay? Based on personal taste. So just don't comment too much about this. And about his kit is pretty solid in PvP and also pretty solid for PvE. PvE, he excelled very strong in Probator boss, one of the main DPS dealer at top tier. So let me show you an example here in for Subtle Fantasy here, right? If you look at Probator, okay, I can't show you yet, but Probator, he's one of my main DPS for my Probator team. So he's doing pretty well, and then in PvP he is also one of my main team to fight the team that doesn't have Momo. So let me show you my this is a few of my beatbox team, right? So this is one of the team that I'm using. It's a Meta Liling team that have Zihe here to protect this. I also showcased this one before, and as long as there doesn't have a Momo, that is actually a pretty solid win as well. So let's say this one here, let me try. It should be a win. Right, so I got a win here. It's pretty solid, has its DPS output. It's pretty solid as well for PvP and also PvE. So overall, I would recommend Meta Liling because he can cover both sides of the content. But if you are a PvP player, actually Meta Chuan's value is a lot more higher than Meta Liling, just purely PvP. I can see Meta Chuan's value very high for PvP content, and but his value for PvE is 0. I will say it's 0. So if you are a player that don't care about model, don't care about Esper design, like you don't really favorite in Meta Liling or Meta Chuan, then if you just purely like PvP, Meta Chuan will be your goal. And for player who likes to play both content but doesn't really want to push until like very high, then Meta Liling is actually a pretty solid choice. But his banner is gonna end now, and you probably not gonna get him anytime soon until his rerun. Maybe his rerun might be like next year after a few months. Who knows, right? We have no idea when they'll rerun it or when what is the future method for us to get Meta Nerta. And if you are really considering to buy his anomaly pass, then this is my suggestion. It really depends on your playstyle. Like for my playstyle, I play both PvE and PvP because for the content, for the Dislyte content as well, and personally I like his design more than Meta Chuan. So I personally I will side more to Meta Liling because he can excel in both content. But if you are purely PvP player, Meta Chuan's value is definitely skyrocketed higher than Meta Liling. Right, so this is also my suggestion on two of them as well. And yeah, feel free to comment down what you guys think about it, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is JNMP, Yaki Shibatils, Kemi, thank you so much for your support. And for the supporter and patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Code Wilderness, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Chani, Von Hexa, Antonio Winterspoon, Marlene Williams, Uncle Chad, Eric Mendes, Ian Cragrin, Riku Fred X Iris, Calamity, Jordan Alons, Rocco Standions, thank you so much for your support. And that's not all. Also special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest tag. So special thanks to Ziggy, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Johnny. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.